How to Change Your Fate, a Poor Girl's Story. In a small, remote village nestled between the hills and forests, lived a young girl named Maya. Born into poverty, she had known nothing but hardship and struggle from the moment she could remember. Her life was filled with daily chores and responsibilities. From working in the fields under the hot sun to taking care of her sick father after her mother had passed away when she was just a child. Every day, she woke up early, long before the sun rose, to feed the animals and begin her work in the fields. She would return home in the evening, exhausted but determined, only to fall asleep in the same tattered clothes she had worn all day. Despite her hard work, she felt as though life had little to offer her. She wondered if things would ever change. But every day felt the same. The villagers around her, though kind-hearted, were also struggling in their own ways. And no one seemed to have a solution for the misery that hung over the village like a dark cloud. But Maya had a dream of a life free from suffering. A life where she could live in peace and find happiness. Every night, as she lay in her bed staring at the thatched roof above her, she would ask herself, "Why must I live like this? Why must life be so difficult for me?" She couldn't help but feel that fate had been cruel to her, cursing her to live a life of poverty and hardship. One day, while she was working in the fields, a man dressed in simple robes walked past her. His presence was calm and serene, and his face exuded a peace that Maya had never seen before. The man smiled at her kindly as he passed, and Maya felt an inexplicable sense of comfort in his gaze. As the days went by, she could not shake the image of the man from her mind. She heard whispers from the other villagers. They said he was the Buddha, a great teacher who had left behind a life of luxury to seek the truth about the suffering of humanity. Maya had heard stories about him before, but she had never imagined she would meet him. One afternoon, as Maya walked through the forest after a long day of work, she stumbled upon the Buddha sitting beneath a tree. He was alone, meditating in the stillness of the forest, his eyes closed and his face calm. There was an aura of tranquility around him, and it felt as though the very earth beneath his feet was imbued with a sense of peace. Maya approached him hesitantly, unsure of what to say or how to ask her questions. But something inside her urged her to speak. She had been carrying the weight of her burdens for so long. And now, in the presence of the Buddha, she felt as though she had found the courage to ask the one question that had been gnawing at her heart. "Master," she said softly, her voice trembling slightly, "I have lived my whole life in poverty and struggle. I work every day, but nothing changes. How can I change my fate? How can I stop living a life of endless suffering?" The Buddha opened his eyes slowly, looking at Maya with a gaze full of understanding. "Maya," he said in a gentle voice, "you are not alone in your suffering. All beings experience suffering in one way or another. But the key to changing your fate lies not in the world around you, but in the way you perceive and respond to life." Maya listened attentively, her heart aching with both curiosity and hope. "But how can I change my fate when it feels like I have no control over it? Every day is the same. I work, I struggle, and I never seem to escape this cycle." The Buddha smiled softly. "The world is full of suffering, Maya, but it is also full of opportunities for growth and transformation. Fate is not something that happens to you. It is something that you create through your thoughts, actions, and understanding of the world. You have the power to change your fate, but the change must begin from within." Maya was silent for a moment, trying to absorb the Buddha's words. "How do I begin? How do I change my thoughts when everything around me seems so difficult?" The Buddha's voice was calm and soothing as he spoke again. "Change begins with awareness. You must first recognize the patterns in your life that lead to suffering. It is not the circumstances themselves that cause you pain, but how you respond to them. If you change the way you think and act, you can change the outcomes of your life." Maya's mind was racing. She had never thought of it this way before. She had always believed that she was a victim of her circumstances, that her fate was sealed by the poverty she had been born into. But the Buddha was telling her something different. He was telling her that her fate was not determined by external forces. It was determined by how she chose to face the world and its challenges. "Master," she said, her voice filled with determination, "how can I change my thoughts and my actions? I want to believe that I can change, but I don't know where to start." The Buddha smiled kindly. "Start with kindness, Maya. Every day, take a moment to practice kindness towards yourself and others. Even when things are difficult, show compassion, and in moments of anger or frustration, remind yourself that peace begins within. By cultivating peace in your heart, you will begin to change your perception of the world around you." Maya nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope in her heart. She didn't know how, but she knew that she had to start somewhere. The Buddha had given her the guidance she needed, and now it was up to her to put it into practice. As the days passed, Maya began to change. She started waking up each morning with a new sense of purpose. She worked the fields, not with resentment, but with gratitude for the opportunity to work. She began to find joy in the small things, the sound of the wind in the trees, the warmth of the sun on her skin, the smile of a passing villager. Slowly, Maya's life began to shift. Though she continued to work in the fields, she no longer felt the weight of endless suffering. She had learned to change her perspective, to find peace within herself, and in doing so, she began to see her external world change as well. The villagers noticed her transformation. They saw how Maya had become a beacon of peace and kindness. And soon they began to turn to her for advice and guidance. Maya, once a poor and struggling girl, had become a source of wisdom and inspiration for others. Years passed, and Maya's life flourished. She was no longer defined by poverty, but by the peace and strength she had cultivated within herself. She had learned that the key to changing her fate was not in escaping hardship, but in transforming her mind and heart to see the beauty in the world. No matter the circumstances, Maya's story became a legend, a tale told for generations, of how a simple girl changed her fate by changing her thoughts, actions, and understanding of the world. And in the end, she had found the peace and happiness she had always sought, not because life was without struggle, but because she had learned to face those struggles with courage, wisdom, and love. Meaning of the story: How to Change Your Fate, a Poor Girl's Story. The story of Maya and Buddha offers a profound lesson on how to change one's fate. It focuses not on changing external circumstances, but on transforming from within, by changing how we perceive and react to life's difficulties. The key to changing your fate starts with changing your mind and actions. Maya, a poor girl, had lived her entire life in hardship, struggling with challenges she couldn't control. However, through her encounter with Buddha, she realized that she wasn't a victim of fate. True change begins from within, through a shift in thoughts, emotions, and actions. When Maya learned to approach life with compassion, patience, and gratitude, she not only transformed herself but also changed her external circumstances. This story also emphasizes that it's not the hardships that defeat us, but how we face them. The challenges we encounter can become opportunities for growth and inner peace. Just as Maya learned from Buddha. Subscribe to Dharma Wisdom Channel. This story is a perfect fit for sharing on Dharma Wisdom Channel, a platform dedicated to sharing life lessons inspired by Buddhist philosophy, helping people find peace and wisdom in their everyday lives. Dharma Wisdom Channel offers valuable insights on self-awareness, compassion, patience, and how to live harmoniously with ourselves and the world around us. The channel provides profound life lessons through stories, teachings, and the wisdom of Buddha, guiding you in overcoming challenges and changing your fate by developing your inner self. Stories like this one will help you find peace of mind and enrich your journey of personal growth. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button on Dharma Wisdom Channel to not miss out on these valuable lessons and inspiring stories. Let's explore the deep values of Buddhist philosophy and apply them in our daily lives to live a more peaceful and happy life.